In this video, I'm sharing with you about my 25 plus year long health journey. Stay tuned, I'll be right back. Welcome to The Long Run with Joel and Christy. I'm Christy, and as Joel says when he does a video by himself, I'm flying solo today.
Hey guys, Joel here. Sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to say that this is part 2 in a 2-part series where Christy shares her health journey. If you missed part 1, click the link on the screen. Now back to part 2 of her story.
Then 2 months later, Joel lost his job. And if you saw our debt-free journey story, you'll know that when he lost his job, I still had a job, but it wasn't enough to pay the bills. So I was extremely worried about how we were going to do that. So I had weird symptoms, starting to gain weight back for no reason, and stressed out beyond belief because I did not know how we were going to pay our bills. So it just started coming back even faster. I would say within the year, I was back in the overweight range and probably 5 or 10 pounds more than that. So I was probably somewhere in the 140s at that point. When I talked to the physician who told me, that I had been going to for the HCG, when we talked about my weight gain, his advice was for me to cut my calories more and to exercise harder. And if you know, I had been eating between 1,000 and 1,200 calories and had been exercising every single day. I never skipped a day because I had worked so hard to get to 118. I did not want to gain it back. And he suggested I work harder and try harder. And so I actually think that advice was bad advice, because I think that under the amount of stress that I was under and everything else that had been going on, my body was basically trying to shut down. Like, it was basically like, I say this all the time, I read this somewhere and I repeat it all the time. Your body cannot tell the difference between a famine and restrictive dieting. And so if you're restrictive dieting, but your body thinks that you're in a famine, anytime it can figure out a way to hold on to some fat so that it can protect you from the famine, it's going to do it. And so that's what I think that my body was doing, was it was trying to hold on to everything it could to get me through what I was going through. So it took me a long time to realize that my body was trying to save me. Sorry. And I really hope that y'all understand that I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever go on a diet. I just think that you really need to, first of all, don't do restrictive diets and don't obsessively exercise, all in the sake of doing that. But understand that your body is not trying to hurt you, it's trying to save you. And you need to give yourself a little grace, and don't ever say, why does my body do this? Why can't I save myself? Why can't I just lose the weight? You need to figure out what's causing it first. And that was one of the hardest parts for me, was to understand that I needed to figure out what was causing this and not just try. It's like going to the doctor for, like, you fall down repeatedly and you go to the doctor and they just put a Band-Aid on your knee and they don't try to figure out why you keep falling down. That's the problem with dieting. If you only look at it as this outward thing where you're only trying to lose weight, then you're putting a Band-Aid on your knee and you're not figuring out why you keep falling down. So, sorry, I got a little off track there. So, in the process, after I started trying to find again ways to lose weight, and I stumbled across the theory of intuitive eating. Now, at the time, it didn't work for me. I tried it and it was working a little bit, but with the stress that I was under, we were like eating very high processed foods. And so it wasn't necessarily that intuitive eating wasn't a good thing, is that I still was feeding my body some really poor quality ingredients and wasn't getting much nutrition from it at all, and I was still probably malnourished because I was still like, we ate a lot of processed food when we first found out about that financial crisis. So I really don't think that it was the intuitive eating that didn't work. It was just the way that we were eating. And so I went through a process. I started trying other diets again when I thought that intuitive eating didn't work. So I tried that. And I went to a weight loss clinic here after we moved to Houston, and I tried that. And it worked a little bit. I lost like 25 pounds at first. And then for some reason, the physician there wanted to change me to Phentermine again. And I tried it for like a 3-week period, and then when I went back to I told her, I said, I really don't want to be on this. Is there anything else you could give me? And this is what she said: you aren't ready to lose weight. Come back when you're ready to do whatever it takes to lose it. And she got up and walked out of the room. So I think that she was more interested in selling a drug than she was in helping me, because she sold other drugs. She could have looked at a different one, but that was just the one she was marketing that day. So anyway, I walked out and I haven't been back to that one either. So it was about a year and a half ago. I was out for a walk because I still was maintaining. I was going to walk every day. I was trying what I could, and I remembered a thing that I heard on a YouTube video back years ago when I was looking at intuitive eating. And it was someone who said these words, and I wish I could remember what her name was, because I can't look her up and link her because I can't remember. But she said, and it still holds true in my mind now, every day I say this to myself, and I have to remind myself of it a lot. God did not put you on earth just to worry about your weight. Wow, that was so revolutionary to me. I needed to hear. I had been totally obsessed with this for 25 years, and all it took was one person saying to me, God didn't put you here for that. And I'm not saying that he doesn't want you to take care of your body and like it says in the Bible, treat it like a temple, like he does, but that should not be your all-consuming. Every thought is whether or not you've had the right number of calories or the right number of macros, or if you exercised enough to burn off the cinnamon roll. We put so much effort into thinking about these things that we can't do anything else. And that's where I was. I put a lot of thought into that. Other than my job and my kids, I was constantly thinking about whether or not I had the right number of calories and whether or not I exercised enough to burn off the calories so that I can make a deficit, because calories in, calories out. And that's just not what God put me here for. So at that point, I did what I do best, and I went and I researched intuitive eating. I watched tons of YouTube videos about it. And also along those lines, I started following some health food bloggers. And I don't mean just any health food bloggers. These were health food bloggers who told you healthy recipes but didn't talk about whether or not you should count your calories or anything, or talked about restriction or anything like that. They just gave you some recipes that had less sugar in them or used alternative flours or anything like that. Like, it wasn't low carb, it wasn't I do watch some vegan bloggers because they have some excellent recipes with a lot of vegetables in them. But other than that, like, there's not necessarily like a diet trend I was following. It was just anybody in the health food space that wasn't telling you to starve yourself while you were doing it. They were more interested in you getting the nutrition than they were about what you couldn't have. Which is now my motto for health, which is, it's not about what you can't have, it's what you can have. And when you focus on what you can have, it opens up a world of choices, and it doesn't have to be all bad stuff. Like intuitive eating, people think that intuitive eaters just sit around eating bad stuff and say that's what their body was calling for. But if you're focusing on what you can have, it opens up a world of all these choices that I didn't realize I had. So when I started following these health food bloggers and intuitive eating channels, I changed my view on how I should be doing it. It's not just necessarily that I eat intuitively, but also I am looking for nutritional value. So here are the 4 things that I put into practice. It was my goals. It was on my goal list the year before last. And it was that I do not count calories or macros anymore. And you may go, what? I know, but I trust my body that God made it smart enough to know when I need to eat and when I don't need to eat. So I don't count them. I practice eating intuitively. And I say practice because if you've gone for 25 years eating on a restrictive caloric diet, you probably will recognize this. You eat at 8 and 10 and 12 and 2 and 5 and no later than 5, because you gotta give your body a time to digest your food overnight, so that in the morning you'll be ready to eat at 8, and over and over and over and over. So you forget to eat what it even feels like to be hungry, because you're eating before you get a chance to be hungry. So also, just a little side note on that, because some people are going to say, you can't let yourself get hungry because you'll eat everything. Hunger does not mean to the point of starving and grabbing everything in sight. When you realize that you're getting hungry, you go ahead and start fixing yourself something. And that way you're not waiting until you're starving and then eat everything in sight, okay? So that's not what I mean when I mean hungry. I don't mean starving. Okay, third, I made gradual changes to how I ate. So when I first started a year and a half ago, I started adding 2 things a month to my diet that I had never eaten before. And I call it try something new. And it gives me a little, like, I don't know, it just makes me enjoy the journey more, knowing that I'm not eating the exact same thing all the time. I'm not running the risk of malnourishment, and I have variety in my diet. So I started out, I think one of the first things I tried out was roasted broccoli. Yeah, I know, I had never had roasted broccoli. And then one thing that had been like so popular and I had never actually tried it, kale. And I made a kale salad and fell in love. Can you believe it? I hated salad before that. Hated it. But it turned out I was just not eating the green that I enjoy. So I love kale salad and I eat it all the time. And before that, I wouldn't even try it because I didn't know if I liked it. So that's why I made gradual changes, and because it wasn't overwhelming to me. It was slow journey, and I still, to this day, every month I try 2 new foods, and if I like it, I start incorporating it more into my diet, and if I don't like it, then I go, that one was not for me, and I won't be eating that again. The 4th goal I had was that I would give myself grace when I make mistakes, because I know I am human and every day is a journey, and some days I'll get it right and some days I'll get it wrong, and I'm not going to beat myself up anymore for the fact that it doesn't look perfect, okay? So that's where I am on my health journey, and I want you all to know that, again, we're not telling you that you should not use a diet, but what we do hope that you get from us is that, one, please, for the love of God, do not do extreme restricted caloric diets and obsessively exercise. You are not doing your body any favor. I'm still struggling with some of the health issues that was caused by 2.5 decades of eating like that. Don't do that to yourself, okay? But instead, what I'm saying is, when you decide, you see that diet that you're like, that one might be good, that one might work, before you pull the trigger on it, before you buy the book, before you buy the supplements, the whatever that goes with it, talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctor and do your research. I'll give you an example. I'm going to try to wrap this up quick. I'm going to give you an example, and that is this, is that some people would say, hey, why don't you do intermittent fasting? And the reason why is because I have done a lot of research on intermittent fasting, and there are some proponents who believe that if you do not have a gallbladder, it can be really stressful on your liver because of the way that you're eating. And they also say that about the keto diet, is that it would be really stressful on your liver if you didn't have the gallbladder to assist in that digestive function, since you're eating higher fats. So that's the reason why I don't do those two, but that's not saying that you shouldn't intermittent fast. What it is saying is do your research and ask your doctor before you do it. If I had not done my research, I would not have known that there was a potential that my liver would be overtaxed by eating that way. Second, we also want you to know that we all hope that you will remind yourself that you are not perfect. You are a human being just like everyone else, and some days are going to be great when you're trying to lose weight or go on a health journey, and some days are going to stink, and you have the option of hating what you've done, or you have the option of saying, tomorrow's a new day and I will try again then. Give yourself some grace. You are enough, you matter, you are important, you are loved, and you should not go through life hating yourself for not being perfect enough, okay? So we just wanted you to know where we stand on our health journey so that you can know where we're coming from when we officially launch our channel on November 14th, which is next week. And we hope that what we want you to understand is what we mean when we say healthy on a budget. It's not necessarily any specific diet that we're talking about. We're talking about Joel needing many more calories than I do, obviously, because he runs marathons. He has to eat a lot. So you'll see he buys some junk food. And you'll see me more with the kale salads and things like that, and how we spend money still conservatively, stay on a budget, and provide for the fact that I'm eating this way and he's eating that way. So I hope that you understand where we're coming from, and we hope that you will like, share, subscribe, comment below if you have been on a health journey or a weight loss journey, if you can understand where I'm coming from. If you've been on any of those diets and you're like, yep, I know what you mean about them and their packaged foods and how they're not really that much better. Any of that stuff, just tell us. Tell us about that journey. We hope that you will continue to learn with us as we continue to learn how to live a healthy life and stay on that budget. And we just want you to know that you can do this. And you should see floating down around here or somewhere. I don't know where I'm going to put it because I haven't finished recording the video yet. But there will be videos here. One will probably be about our debt-free journey, and the other one will probably be a little bit about how weird we are. And that's all I have today. Until next week.